Everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel, Tara Talks Books, where we talk everything bookish. So today I'm going to be doing my reading wrap up for the month of July. I ended up reading 9 books this month. So if you want to see what I ended up reading for the month of July, just keep watching. So the first one I ended up reading during the month of July was actually You Had Me At Ola by Alexis, Daria. I did end up reading the majority of this during the month of June, but I ended up finishing it in July, so I count it towards my July wrap up. Anyways, this one is a contemporary romance, and it's about Jasmine, who is a well-known soap opera star. She has gone through like a messy and public breakup with I think he's like a rock star of some sort. So she's about to return to her hometown of New York to film a romantic comedy, kind of on like a Netflix type platform. And so she doesn't want or expect to get involved with anyone, but that was before telenovela star Ashton had been cast alongside her in the romantic comedy. So they get off kind of to a shaky start while filming, but to help both of their careers and to make the show a success, they kind of come together. Jasmine goes to him in his dressing room or whatever, and is like, hey, I really want to make this show great. We need to, kind of work on our chemistry, work on our lines to really make it amazing, because I am really passionate about it. And so that ends up happening. And so this ends up leading to a behind the scenes romance, and it kind of goes from there. So I actually thought this was really cute celebrity romance. It definitely has some depth to it as well. Has discussion of anxiety, and even potentially PTSD after a traumatic event. I enjoyed the importance that kind of both the characters put on family or family relationships in this book. I also liked watching the characters navigate the pitfalls of celebrity and kind of handle it in their own ways, but then come together and support each other. I really liked that aspect of it as well. I did think, though, that the male main character, Ashton, needed to do a bit more groveling at the end, because he really did say some not so nice things to Jasmine when, there's that third act breakup or that conflict. And I was like, wow, he blamed everything on her, and which really wasn't her fault. But anyways, I definitely overall enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star. It was definitely one that I enjoyed. I would read from Alexis, Daria again. I did also want to mention that the tropes in this book are obviously celebrity romance as well as single dad. So if you're looking for that, go ahead and check this one out. Next one I read actually on Audible, and that one is Lady Ruthless by Scarlett Scott. This is a historical romance. So this is about Lady Calliope Manning, who will stop at nothing to punish the person she believes is responsible for her brother's death, and she actually believes that it is the Earl of Sinclair. And so she finds that the Earl of Sinclair is looking for a bride to help him out of his financial situation, because he's in financial ruin. She creates these memoirs that are letters that it's him confessing that he's done these horrible or despicable things, but it's actually her writing them because she thinks he's responsible for the death of her brother. So she's trying to ruin his reputation. So they're called Confessions of a Sinful Earl. And so that obviously leaves his bride-to-be, she ends up running for the hills and leaving him. And, obviously that leads to more financial ruin for him. And so the Earl of Sinclair, or Sin as they call him, needs to marry, but nobody in society will consider him, because obviously these papers have come out and they've ruined his reputation. They've said oh, he's a murderer, he's done all these despicable things. So anyways, he has to find the author of these papers and make them pay, basically. So he ends up finding out that Callie is actually the author of these papers, and he kidnaps her and demands that she marry him to salvage or restore his reputation. And of course, she is put in a bind because of that. Like, she doesn't want to ruin like her brother's good standing because she's written these papers. So anyways, I did end up giving this one a 4-star. I really enjoyed this historical. I liked that it started off right in the action of things. I also enjoyed the chemistry between the characters. It's like palpable. It's like coming off the page. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And the spice was perfection because of that as well. The tropes in this book are like, in the beginning, captor captive, enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience. So I did really enjoy this historical. I do think that you should check it out if you haven't already. The next one I have is a Kindle Unlimited one, and that one is A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halle. I actually read one of Karina Halle before, and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to give her another chance, and this one was a really popular one as well, so I figured I would go ahead and give it a shot. This one is a dark romance, and I ended up giving it like a 4.5 to a 5-star. I'm not sure. I'm like somewhere in the middle. I think I'm a 4.5. Anyways, this is a Little Mermaid retelling with aspects of Pirates of the Caribbean sprinkled in as well. It is a dark fantasy romance. Princess Marin sold her soul to the Sea Witch, giving up her life underwater for the love of Prince Eric on land. But Eric is a cruel prince, and Marin wants to reverse the spell. She wants to go back to her family. And so an opportunity for escape presents itself when her and Eric are actually taken captive by pirates. So Captain Ramsey Bones Batista has like a reputation of having like a haunted crew that like take no prisoners. No prisoners ever survive. And so Ramsey and Marin both have like a score to settle with the Sea Witch. So it kind of works in both their favors eventually. They finally have to get on the same page. I did enjoy this one. Her and Ramsey are like made for each other. I enjoyed the pirate aspect of this and that it was very like atmospheric. Marin's growth throughout the book was excellent too. She went from being like resigned to her choices and then realizing like her strength like at the end. I really enjoyed that aspect. I liked her growth and development throughout the book. They both had like some good banter together, back and forth. I enjoyed that aspect of it. It is, again, another captor captive, and it is like a villain hero as well. So overall, I did enjoy this one, and you should definitely check it out if you enjoy like pirate fantasy romances, or if you enjoy like dark romances. This is a good one to pick up as well. The next one I read is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann. This is another dark romance, and I will say I got this one as an ARC on NetGalley, but all opinions and thoughts are my own. This is another, like I said, dark romance. Cora is celebrating her sister's birthday, but her wallet ends up getting stolen. She ends up calling everyone she can think of, but the only one that ends up picking up is Dean, who is her sister's fiance and like her sworn nemesis since like her sister started dating him. They have never gotten along. So when he picks her up, they are kidnapped by a madman, held in his basement, and like forced to do dark things. And so like they've been rivals for years. They now have to work together to like survive basically, but the madman has things planned for them that confuses the line between love and hate for them. Once they make it out alive, things kind of can never be the same for either of them. So this was like a very emotional book. I enjoyed the journey that Cora and Dean had to go on to be like with each other, because obviously it's a forbidden romance. I liked seeing Cora's like healing, but I felt it was kind of like lacking for Dean. I wanted to see more of his healing of like their like trauma that they went through together. So there was this was very like real and raw emotions on this page. It was very well written in that aspect. I did end up giving it like a 4-star. There are a bunch of trigger warnings in this one. Check out Goodreads. It's really good for looking at those if anything affects you. It is a dark romance, like I said, so there are going to be darker themes to it. Anyways, I was very excited because this was my first ever ARC from NetGalley, and I was excited that I ended up getting getting to like listen to it and review it. So I thought that was really cool, and I will continue trying to get arcs from NetGalley because I really honestly didn't think I would get one. The next one I have is The Wishing Game by Meg Shaffer. This is I would say it's a fiction. I'm not sure honestly how to categorize this. It has a lot of good things in it. This follows a reclusive children's author who quit writing for reasons nobody knows, or like the public doesn't know. He resurfaces years later with a competition to win his like brand new book, which would change like the winner's life forever. So Lucy grew up reading Jack Masterson's books, who is the author. They were her solace for like a lonely childhood. She is invited to join the competition, which she hopes to win because she really wants to adopt a boy who was orphaned after the death of his parents. She's currently working at the school as like a teacher's aide, I believe, where the little boy goes to school at. She's known him since even before his parents passed away. And so they have a connection. But others want the book too, including like book collectors, publishers, and even the illustrator of the Clock Island series, Hugo Reese. So I really enjoyed this one. This one just showed how like a book can be so important for a kid. It can almost be like a safe haven. It was so heartwarming and like just a feel-good book. I love that the book references different childhood books. Anyways, I had all the feels while reading this book. I did end up giving it a 5-star. I absolutely loved it. So that one has like a little bit of romance. It has a little bit of found family. It has a little bit of like mystery element of like who's gonna win the book, or what's, you know, what is Jack Masterson really up to. And so I really just enjoyed it. It's such a lovely book to read. It's one of those just feel-good books that after you're done reading, you're just like, oh, that was so sweet, and it makes you smile, it makes you happy. Even though there are some like sad aspects of it, there's like some sad parts, overall the book is just lovely. So the next one I did read physically, and that one is The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. I did end up reading this one as kind of like a buddy read with Talia over at Bandana Book Mom. And so we actually read this one. It is a mystery, and it follows Harriet, who is a mystery writer and is about to like hit it big. She's like written a book that's about to be popular, that is just at like cusp of becoming big. So she's recently moved from England to the United States to be with her boyfriend Edward, who actually ends up proposing to her at the beginning of the book. Edward is part of like an eccentric wealthy family, and they start to like push themselves into their lives after the engagement. At their first family dinner, Edward's dad Robert ends up giving Harriet a cassette tape revealing to her a dark family secret. That starts the game that could like end up deadly when she is invited to the Holbeck's country house for Christmas. And it kind of goes from there. That's the premise of. I definitely did enjoy this thriller. It did keep me guessing. It was very fast-paced and tense at times. As with most thrillers I read, I tend to get annoyed with some of the decisions that the main character makes, because like I would not make those decisions. So yeah, obviously it's a book and they're gonna make those decisions to be a part of the book. Like, you know, it's part of reading a mystery. I did end up giving it a 4-star. It was overall a fun mystery thriller to read. Kept me guessing. So check this one out if you are looking for a good mystery thriller. Next one I read is kind of a dud, and that one is A Witch's Lament by Cathy Walker. Over on Bex Reads channel, she is doing the Black Hat Book Coven with her and a few other booktubers, and they ended up choosing A Witch's Lament, and I don't think anybody really enjoyed it. I don't even know if some people finished it. It was definitely a little bit hard to get into. It is like a paranormal book. It was very short. I ended up listening to it on audio, but it does follow Skye as she moves to Salem, Massachusetts, and buys a historical house in the witch capital of the world. She doesn't realize that there's dangers lurking. Jerome is a police officer in this town looking for information on his mom's disappearance 30 years prior. So he realized there's a connection between Skye and somebody who was at the ritual that his mother attended and went missing from. He was actually at it too, but he was very young, and so like his memory is kind of like fragmented, because I think he was like 6 or something. He was very young. So they end up having to work together to face this evil and stop the murders from happening, because there are murders occurring in this town in present day as well, and they kind of look like ritualistic. So they kind of have to team up to figure out what's happening, not only to solve current murders, but his mother's murder, and then whatever's happening that could potentially harm the entire town, because it's like a dark force. So I felt like some of the things just kind of came out of nowhere. I was like reading, or listening, and I was like, oh, whoa, okay, so we're doing this now. And so I was like, okay. I was like, how did we get here? So that was just kind of one of the things that I noticed, that I was just like, okay, I'm not sure that I'm jiving with this. There also isn't too much character development either. I also felt like the book couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Did it want to be a paranormal suspense, or did it want to be a romance or a romantic suspense? It wasn't sure what it wanted to be. So I felt like it just wasn't what I expected. I don't think it was what anybody expected. Anyways, they ended up choosing different books for next month, so I'm excited to continue on with some different books. So yeah, not every book can be everybody's favorite. I'm probably too nice in how I give my ratings, but I ended up giving it a 3-star. It probably should be more like a 2 or a 2.5, but you know what? At least I made it through. I didn't DNF it, so I rated it a 3. The next one I read on Kindle Unlimited, and it is a novella, and that one is Thin Ice by Cassie. This is like a contemporary romance, and it follows Mila, who is like a figure skater, and she is part of like a duos team. And Mila is like crushing on her coach, and he's like a former Scottish figure skater. And so little does she know that his like grumpy exterior might be hiding his true feelings for her. And I don't really want to say more because it is such a short read. So this one was a fun, steamy time. Some of the tropes are like age gap. It's obviously forbidden. Grumpy sunshine. I guess you can consider it sports romance as well, because she's a figure skater. I absolutely love figure skating books so much. I enjoy reading them. I used to watch the Olympics when they had like figure skating. They probably still do, but I used to watch it a lot when I was little, and I love reading them. I have read this one, and then I've also read From Luke Off With Love, which had figure skating. And if you guys have any recommendations or book recommendations, please leave them in the comments below, because I would enjoy reading another one. And last but certainly not least is A Matter of Temptation by Stacy Reid. This is another historical romance. I wanted to read this one before I read her new book in this series, so I wanted to read this one first before. This one follows Wilhelmina Crawford, or Mina, and her brother has to duel the Earl of Creswick, but Mina ends up going in his stead. The Earl realizes after the duel that it's not her twin brother, it's actually her. And so this leads to her working for Simon as his secretary, because their finances are in like dire straits, and she kind of tells them that that's why she went to duel, to, you know, make sure that their reputation stayed intact. And so anyways, she ends up going to work with them because, again, her family is in dire straits financially. And of course there's an attraction because Mina, you know, she's clever and she has a sense of humor that catches the eye of the Earl. But Mina has like a secret that could destroy them both. So it goes from there. I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I loved how Mina was just so like playful and humorous. And then that led Simon to come out of his shell. The chemistry between Mina and Simon in the book was amazing. So she kind of realizes in the beginning that she's not quite living up to her potential. And so an event happens and that kind of changes her perspective. And she just goes and she wants to try and just live life, even though like there's this secret in her past that had been holding her back. So anyways, this was amazing. Again, 5-star. I love Stacy Reid's writing. She's probably my favorite historical romance writer. I will probably read anything she puts out, and I really want to read like her entire backlist, even though I know it's huge. One of the tropes in this obviously is forced proximity, because they do work together. So those are all the books that I read during the month of July. Let me know what you read during the month of July or your thoughts on any of the books that I read. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to. Bye!